Welcome to the AdSense Flippers podcast. Are you sick and tired of gurus who have plenty of ideas but are short on substance? Worried that ebook you bought for $17.95 won't bring you the personal and financial freedom you long for? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others in their pursuit of niche profits without the bullshit. Straight from your hosts, Justin and Joe of AdSense Flippers.
Welcome to episode 22 of the AdSense Flippers podcast. I'm your host, Justin Cook, and I'm here with the man with the plan, Joe Magnotti. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, everybody.
You're the big boxer, man. You got a big boxing event coming up this weekend.
I am primed and ready.
Dude, it's going to be crazy. We're going to have a ton of people there. We got the VIP seats. We got the ring girls. It's going to be going off.
Yeah, we'll have some video follow-up as well.
Yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. Well, this week's episode is all about how to track and monitor your website. So we're going to be going into how to keep track of your websites, see where they're ranking, whether they're up and running. But first, before we get into that, let's get into some news and updates. First bit of news, we've got a new giveaway going on.
Hit me up, Justin. What's it all about?
Here's the deal. For any iTunes reviews through June 30th, from today through June 30th, we'll be giving away one niche site randomly to one of the reviewers.
Nice.
Pretty good deal, right? So yeah, anyone who gives us a review on iTunes, and this is for the UK, US, Australia, and Canada. Sorry to everyone else, but in any of those countries, if you give us a review, you will be put in the drawing for a niche site from us. Second thing is we've got nichesitegold.com up and running, buddy. I got the first email out, went over some keywords like seed keywords, how we found that, how we're ranking them on the first page, how well we think we can get the sites ranked. I think it was really good. We sent it out to both Niche Site Gold email list and the AdSense Flippers email list. So I think I went pretty well.
Yeah, I saw that, and actually some people snapped up the available domains pretty quickly, huh?
Yeah, they were buying them up pretty quick, so that's pretty cool. We should have another one out. There should be a weekly newsletter, so we'll be putting that out every week, and you can expect that in your email box.
Now, there's been a little bit of a problem there, huh? We have to avoid multiple buyers.
Yeah, here's the thing. So originally the plan was to be able to sell those URLs or those domains to people. The problem is I don't want to send out an email list and have one person buy it and then 6 people buy it right afterwards, right? Then we have to refund all these people, kind of a pain in the butt. I think PayPal does a
inventory control.
Yeah, inventory issue where we can kind of put that in, and once it's bought, it's gone kind of thing.
Yeah, we can. I just need to look it up. I need to call them and figure out how it works.
All right, so we'll get that set up here in the next couple of weeks. I didn't want to wait, though. I wanted to get that email out so people can start to see what we're doing for keyword research, and we can help some people out figure out how to evaluate the first page.
Cool. Well, the other thing is we got back from Startup Weekend Cebu. It's a great experience. Wait No More was the winner. They did waiting in line technology.
Yeah, it's Wait No More. Wait, K-N-O-W, more, M-O-R-E.co.
We'll put a link to the site in the show notes.
Yeah, pretty cool. So here's the deal. People get sick of waiting in line. You're the DMV or you're wherever. You're just sick of it. So how about this? Instead, you can leave, right? You just check in with your phone, leave, you get a text message or a message on the app really quick. When you're sitting at Starbucks, tells you you're 10 minutes from being at the front of the line. You hop right back in line, you're good to go.
Yeah, the best part about it is that they share the advertising revenue with the place that has the technology. So there's some benefit, there's some reason for them to adopt the technology.
Yeah, what I'd like to see them go to the manufacturers of those machines that are already in place and see if they can get something like, into the systems that are already out there. I think that'd be a great idea. Anyway, techtalks.ph did a great job of putting this together. Tina was a fantastic host, so was Mark, and they really kind of opened up our eyes when it comes to like the tech scene in Cebu City. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks Tina, thanks Mark. You guys really helped us get things together, get all the interviews done, everything we needed, so really appreciate all your help. And if you ever want to come down to Davao, set something up in Davao, just let us know. So the next thing on the list here, we're looking for a conversion expert for AdSense Flippers.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. Our site sucks. Dude, it's ugly, man, right? People go to their site, they're like, oh my God, I heard so much about you and your site looks horrible.
It does need a redesign, I admit that, and this is the first step in the redesign.
Yeah, this is the first step in the redesign. We really want someone to kind of go in there and like give us an idea on how we can better convert, right? How we can put new visitors, give them better options to our content. show them kind of where our good posts are, and kind of help them navigate the site a bit better. I think that'll be helpful. We need to do that first, though, before we do the redesign, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's pretty important so that we can put together a good marketing brief so that designers know what to focus on.
We use 99 Designs for this one, buddy?
I think so, and I think we should announce it to our listeners, to our readers, and say, hey, if you guys have a good design idea for AdSense flippers, please submit it on this open, private contest, but on this contest platform, because we get so many good ideas using 99 Designs that I think we should continue to do it.
Cool. Okay, the last update I got, the penguin updates.
Oh my God, more penguin stuff, huh?
Yeah, so we've seen the niche sites bouncing around a bit, up in the rankings, down in the rankings. We've seen a lot of movement. The reason we're able to see this movement is because we use a service called Whoosh Traffic. We got in contact with Erica. She's really been kind of helping us through the process, kind of like tailoring a product that I think will be useful to AdSense Flippers listeners and to us, right? So we've been able to kind of monitor this. We've been getting the daily emails. I don't check it every day, but we've been seeing a lot of movement, right?
Yeah, daily emails are quite nice because it shows you how the sites moved, how the keywords related to those sites moved. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the show, but yeah, lots of movement, both up and down, and it's something we need to talk about.
I'm glad we decided to kind of hold off on selling sites. We kind of want to stabilize, see what happens with the search engines. I think that was a pretty good move, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Especially with all these changes, we don't want any of our buyers to get a bad taste in their mouth because they had a bad experience or something like that.
Cool, man. Well, let's get right into the heart of this week's episode.
The AdSense Flippers Podcast.
So this week's episode is all about how to track and monitor your websites. Now, I think this is important to remember. This is secondary, right? Making sure you have a profitable process goes first.
Yeah, I mean, you wrote that email in our automatic email string about, have to stop looking kind of thing.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, I think that's so applicable here to what we're talking about. This shouldn't be something you're checking all the time, right? You just want it to have to be something that is set up, that you make sure it's set up correctly to begin with, so you're not kicking yourself down the line and spending a lot of time on it. But you also don't want to be dragging your free time down, rechecking and checking your rankings and your analytics and this and that for little tiny changes that don't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing you do want to do, though, I think, is set everything up from the beginning. So track everything you can, and you don't need to necessarily think about it, but make sure you set up a process that tracks it. I'll give you an example. We're working on a keyword tool that can kind of read the first page and give you an idea on whether or not you can rank for that keyword or not. We now have over 12,000 keywords that we've evaluated, right? So we can use all of that data and go back and use it as a model for whether or not our system works. Does it find our winners? Can it replace us when we're picking the keywords? So because we have that data, we can do that. We wouldn't be able to do it otherwise.
Yeah, and I always like cloud-based systems better to record that data if possible. So if you have a way of putting it, so in case your computer gets destroyed or you lose your phone or whatever, it's not on one particular device. You can always access that data at a later time.
You hear bloggers talking about this all the time, that you should always be using email lists. Email lists are critical for bloggers, right? Well, it's the same thing for data for niche sites. Data is critical. So make sure that you're tracking it. Who knows what you'll do with it, but you will have an opportunity to use it later. So, get that from the start.
Yeah, and you can use that data to provide reporting information and automated alerts, that kind of thing, and roll-ups that you can look at once a week, once a month, twice a year, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we often look at our sites on like a monthly basis, right? So how are the February sites doing? How are the November sites doing?
Yeah, and if you have that historical data, you can write a report down the line that you didn't even think that report would be useful. So that's why it's really good to have that in one big database.
So we've broken this up into 3 parts. We've got part 1, we're going to talk a little bit about analytics. Part 2, we're going to talk about ranking. And part 3, we're going to talk about monitoring your sites. So first, let's talk about analytics. So the first part is all about analytics. Now, first off, I should say Google Analytics is a fantastic tool. We use it on every one of our sites. We use it on all our authority sites. We use it on everything. And it's important to note that you need analytics over just having AdSense, right? AdSense will give you page views, but it won't give you all the rest of the data that's useful later.
Yeah, I hear this all the time from readers and a lot of beginners. Hey, I get page views from AdSense. Why do I need Google Analytics? Well, Google Analytics gives you a lot more stats than just page views, the ability to track where the keywords are coming from, all kinds of information that AdSense does not provide.
So let's talk about the changes to Google Analytics. Really interesting. You've seen the real-time statistics. I love that. So you can see in real time where people are coming from, how they're getting to your site. You can now search for sites. I know that's a big one for you.
Oh, that's a huge one because when you have so many sites like we do, it was getting more and more difficult to find our sites by manually having to go through each grouping and look for it. Oh, it was just a nightmare.
I read a post on Smart Passive Income just a little while back, talked about how to track your conversions, like let's say for opt-ins or for sales. Pretty useful for authority sites. We've been using it for AdSense flippers. It was really helpful to me. But what I came across out of that post was he linked to somewhere else where they talked about the perfect dashboard. Basically setting up your Google Analytics dashboard to where it's, amazing. It tracks everything for you and just basically runs on its own, right? So, the cool thing about Google Analytics now is that you can download the dashboard and automatically update it or automatically upload it to Google Analytics. So it'll set your dashboard to presets that have been created by someone else, an analytics expert.
Yeah, those are very useful. I think that's a great way to get started using Google Analytics. And just remember that if you're overwhelmed by all the options and things in Google Analytics, don't be scared. Get it running on your site, get the code up there, and then once you collect all the data, you can set these advanced features up later. So something else that you should be aware of is there are some alternatives to Google Analytics, and there are some really good add-ons, right?
Yeah, people really freak out about analytics. They go, oh my God, I'm giving Google way too much information. That may or may not be true. We don't particularly think that it is. We're fine with it. But some people get a little nervous, right? They get a little nervous with the Google monster hanging over their head.
If your mantra is do no evil, then how can they support a free product and say that they're going to use it against people? So, that's always been my argument against people who have this conspiracy theory against Google Analytics. But there are some good alternatives like Get Clicky, right?
Yeah, Get Clicky is great. You can download it, put it on your site, no problem. It gives you a lot of the same data that Google Analytics does. They're kind of in competition right now, but you should check it out, Get Clicky.
And then a great one, especially if you have a little more of an authority site, and you want to measure what users are doing on your site, you want to actually see it, it's called ClickTail. And what ClickTail does is it makes a video of every visitor that comes to your site. And you can actually see where the mouse moves, what they click on, what they hover over, where they go. It's very interesting for seeing user experience on your site.
Here's an add-on I like, if you haven't used it yet, Optimizely. So if you're a non-tech guy like me and a non-designer, right? Basically what Optimizely lets you do is it lets you take particular boxes on your site and just move them around, right? Basically take this box, stretch it out, put it over here, see how it would look if it was there, and then test A/B tests against each other and see which one converts or does better for you, works better for you. It's a fantastic tool.
Getting back to Google Analytics and AdSense, you can get your AdSense data in Google Analytics, and that will provide some better detail and tie the two systems together.
Yeah, Analytics and AdSense can actually be combined. It's on a limited number of sites. We don't have it on all of our sites, but we did in the beginning. It was pretty useful because you'll see the AdSense earnings actually in your Analytics account. It's pretty cool. Now, if you plan on selling some of your niche sites, it's really important that you allow verified analytics to be posted. So if you're going to be putting a post on auction up on Flippa, you want to make sure to include verified analytics. The reason for this is anyone can put up a screenshot, a Photoshop doctored screenshot, but if you actually push it through the Flippa system, they have a way to verify that your analytics are legit and come from Google, which is fantastic.
Right, and I would say if your intention is to sell sites, this is the number one reason to use Google Analytics because your auction looks that much more authentic and real if you have verified analytics.
This second part is all about rankings and how to make sure verify the rankings of your niche sites are there, are legit, are good, right?
Right. We should say that targeted traffic is a lot more important than rankings. You can stress about rankings all day, but sometimes you'll have a site that doesn't rank at all, and it may rank in Google Images, or it may rank very highly in Yahoo or Bing, and that's where it gets its traffic from. And if that traffic is targeted and the site is making revenue, then I wouldn't worry so much about it.
Yeah, a lot of times our sites will get, this really odd long tail that we weren't planning on, and that one just hit. So it's ranked not for a keyword that we were looking for, but just randomly ranked for a long tail. That's fine. It's still getting traffic. It's still targeted. It's still showing relevant ads for that page, which is critical. And these are people that are searching for that particular subject, which is key. Here's Here's a mistake I see a lot of new people on Flippa making. I see some of our readers or listeners asking us about, and this is when you are assuming that personalized or regionalized searches are the same way for everyone. So you'll see someone on Flippa that says, oh, I'm ranked number 3, right? And then when you check the actual ranking, nationally for that site, it's ranked 13 or something, right? People make this mistake all the time.
Yeah, and we've used Scroogle in the past for this. There are a lot of ways, if you have an incognito window, if you use a US server, if you're coming from overseas, there are a number of ways to do that. But just be aware that if you're logged into your Google account or you have cookies enabled, you're probably not seeing the search results that everyone else is seeing.
Yeah, this is critical because, if it's ranked for you, you're like, oh, great, I'm number 2. But that's because you +1'd it or something, right?
Right.
Not good. I've noticed some people that own niche sites, they've been heading this direction where they try to get traffic not via rankings, but via social media.
Yeah, we got an email from somebody the other day that had a site that was making huge amounts of huge amounts of traffic that was coming from social media. And I was saying to you, what keyword could he possibly have that has that much social media interest?
Well, this concerns me, and this is one of our readers or listeners, and he's gotten a ton of traffic and a ton of earnings through social media.
He's really pushed social media as a traffic tool and not pushed his rankings in the search engine.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that he's getting the amount of revenue and the amount of traffic he's getting. It concerns me a bit too because, social media traffic is not nearly as targeted, so it's not going to be as relevant to the page. So the people that might click on the ads, if you get 1 million people to your page in a day, even if they're, not looking at all for what you offer, some of them are just going to donk it up and click on some of your ads, right? It's just going to happen.
Right.
I'm not sure those are very good customers for the potential advertisers that are on your page.
Right, because in the end, if they don't buy, then the advertiser's going to know that because it's not going to convert. And they're going to go and complain to Google. Google's going to trace back where those clicks are coming from, find it's from your kind of half spammy social media site, and ban your AdSense account or warn you.
Yeah, ultimately, you want to get people that are looking for products or services in touch with the product or services offered. And that's how you can do that is through ranking, right? Ranking for the keywords that are relevant to your site and to the page.
Right, now there are a number of tools to track your ranking, right? Ton of options here. One we mentioned in the beginning of the show was Whoosh Traffic. And Whoosh Traffic is something that was newly introduced to us by Erica. She's the CEO of the company. And, I really like it because it's a simple interface. It's all cloud-based. You add your keyword pairs, what they will call keyword pairs, which is a site and a keyword. It's affordable, especially for people who don't have a lot of sites. When you do get up to a higher level, it's going to be a little more expensive, but we're working with them right now. They're going to be adding a bunch of features. So, I do like their approach. It has a lot of potential.
I like the fact that it's really simple. So if you have, let's say a 200 keyword plan, you can have 100 sites tracking 2 keywords each. You can have 50 sites tracking 4 keywords each. So it's basically just, limited by the keywords that you're searching for. So if you want to have 200 niche sites just looking at one keyword, that's something you can do as well. It's pretty cool. Another one that I think you should definitely check out is SEOMoz. The SEOMoz, so you can use it for Open Site Explorer. But one of the things I love best is the campaigns that you can run inside of SEOMoz. Now, this is probably more for authority sites than niche sites because it's a bit more complicated. But if you do have authority sites, I highly recommend checking out SEOMoz's tool. There's a free trial, so you can try it for free for 30 days.
Yeah, and then the last one to mention, it's good old Market Samurai. It does have the ability to track keywords. You would have to do it from your own computer, but you could put that on a server somewhere in the US and you would have good historical data kept somewhere. We used to do it that way. Remember when we first started out, Justin? That's the way we tracked all the rankings for our sites.
Yeah, the cool thing is that Market Samurai is obviously a one-time fee. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, though, man. A lot of these are going to monthly subscriptions. If you're constantly running searches for your rankings, I think that's probably, we're going to see a shift here pretty soon with Market Samurai.
Yeah, well, the other problem with the ranking in Market Samurai is you're not going to be able to search your sites once a day from the same computer, because if you're hitting Google that hard, you're really probably going to get banned on your IP, so you got to be careful of that.
The last thing we want to talk about briefly was the difference between fluctuations in your rankings being penalized, and being de-indexed.
This is so important because we get so many emails about this, Justin. People say, oh, I'm de-indexed when they're actually penalized. Oh, the site's dropped out of the rankings when it's just a normal fluctuation, all kinds of things.
So here, really quickly, here's the first thing you can do to check if you're de-indexed. Search for site, S-I-T-E, and then your site. So if it's blueskiboots.org, type site, blueskiboots.org. If you see no pages, it means your site has been de-indexed. That's a major problem. It's gone from Google. It's been taken out of Google's cache.
Yeah, that means you'll lose any traffic that you were getting from Google, and this will affect Google Images, Google Search, everything.
Here's a great way to tell if you've been tanked. Using the same example, type blue space ski space boots space blueskiboots.org, right? That's pretty relevant for blueskiboots.org. Like, it should be the number one result. If it's not, or you see some secondary pages appearing above the home page, that's a sign that you're tanked or there's some kind of problem with the site. It's taken a hit in some way.
Yeah, I would definitely look at your sitemap in Webmaster Tools, make sure it's submitted correctly, make sure there's no crawl errors or anything like that, see if you have any notices about bad links, that kind of thing.
Webmaster Tools.
In Webmaster Tools, right.
So, I mean, another thing you'll see is fluctuations, right? And we have this too where, the 9th spot and all of a sudden we see that we've dropped to the 237th spot, right? And then we're back up to the 8th spot, right? That happens.
And this is why I love Whoosh Traffic, right? Because it's nice, historical data, emails you on a daily basis. You can see the fluctuations of site that have actually changed, and it will tell you if sites have not changed. So you can just look at the ones that have and kind of get an update on those sites. So you see one that dropped 200 spots. Well, the next day it came back, maybe the server that Whoosh Traffic was hitting at that time had a problem or something.
Maybe your site was down, this last time.
Yeah, it could be anything. And that's why it's important not to freak out about rankings immediately. Give it a couple of days and make sure it's not a normal fluctuation.
So part 3 of this episode is all about monitoring your sites over the long haul. Now, this isn't critical to remember, is to not obsess over any particular or individual site. And the most important thing to do is to monitor as a whole through automated or rolled up processes.
Yeah, if you try to do this manually, you're going to drive yourself crazy, especially if you start building a lot of niche sites.
I get questions about this. I just had one the other day on Warrior Forum. Someone was saying, well, how do you know, at what point do you watch a site and determine whether it worked or not? And I don't look at any individual sites. I mean, sometimes I do, and it just makes me crazy because I check one, I check another one, and I'm like, well, how's this one doing? Maybe it ranks for the secondary. And once I go down that rabbit hole, 3 hours of my day is wasted.
Right.
So it's a really bad idea. I try not to check individual sites and try to look at them as a whole. And the more sites you build out, the more you'll start to do that, start to see them as groups. Now, it's important when monitoring your sites to make sure that you're checking both their uptime and the speed on the site. If the site is not up, right? If it's down on a regular basis, that's going to be a problem. It can, dramatically hurt rankings. So can speed. So if your site is, loading really slowly, as ours was when we were hosting on GoDaddy, that's one of the reasons we switched over to HostGator, was because HostGator was much faster. We found our sites were loading much faster for visitors.
Yeah, there's a number of things you can do to speed up your site. Obviously, you can change hosting providers. You can also change the theme. You can make your CSS a little bit better. And there are a number of tools to help you analyze your site and see what your speed is. Check the show notes and we'll have those available. But in terms of site monitoring, something so simple as measuring whether your site is up or not, you figured they would have a gazillion tools. And there are a gazillion tools out there to do it, but I have to say that the cloud-based ones, like Pingdom, are not cheap if you have a lot of sites, especially if you want to do just like daily monitoring or something like that. It can be quite expensive for just a ping. So what we use is a piece of software called Site Monitor Enterprise. You can Google that. We'll have the link down in the show notes as well. That's actual software that we have running on a US server. It measures the response time and it'll look for a little piece of text. We have it look for our pub ID just to make sure that the sites have our AdSense code and everything is running as expected.
Yeah, it's cool to have something that we know is checking our sites. It would suck to have 300 of our sites down and us not even know about it. So I'm really glad we have that in place.
Yeah, I get a daily alert of the sites that are down or unavailable, and once in a while, something's messed up, and I have to contact our hosting provider or talk to our site team, our site setup team, and see what's going on. But it's good to have these kind of automated reports so that I'm not, like you said, going crazy, spending 3 hours of my day seeing if sites are up and working.
So let's wrap this podcast, or the heart of this week's podcast, up. Some of the main points we talked about: make sure that you understand checking ranking, analytics, monitoring your sites. This is all secondary to making sure your sites are profitable. None of it matters if you're not making money with your sites.
We've said it till we're blue in the face, but yeah, focus on making money. This kind of stuff should be automated and just working in the background.
Still important, but not as critical as being profitable. Second thing is, make sure that you're focusing on the whole and not any particular individual sites, right? So how are your January sites doing? How are the sites from last year doing? Kind of group them together. Don't look at specific individual rankings. Make sure that this is rolled up, so maybe you look once a week to see how everything's doing, but don't go in and start digging through all the individual sites.
I can also already see people disagreeing with us and saying, well, I only have 8 sites, and therefore I need to really track the rankings, and I really need to see what the sites are doing on a daily basis. You know what? I would say your efforts are better focused on making those sites better in some way, or creating new sites. Even if they're authority sites, even if they're larger sites, don't focus on this stuff.
You're setting yourself up with bad practices that you're going to kick yourself later. If you're doing that with 8, 10, 12 sites, you're going to be in a position where when you have 30, 40 sites, you're going to pull your hair out and not be able to keep track of all your different sites. And that's, kind of the last point, is to make sure that you're using automated services and roll-ups. Now, you need to keep this cheap because this is secondary and it does hurt the bottom line. It starts to stack up, right?
Yeah,
John?
I was just going to say, this can get expensive, not only in terms of time, but in terms of actual money and things that you're spending a little piece of software here, an automated service there. But it is important, and I would prefer to pay for a service that's good and provides me a nice automated clean report on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis than me have to check or make the script myself or something like that.
Yeah, it's peace of mind. It allows us to focus on other projects we're working on, right?
Exactly.
All right, that's it for the heart of this week's episode. Let's get right into our ninja marketing tips, tricks, and our plans for the future.
The AdSense Flippers podcast continues.
So the first ninja marketing tip we have for you is SEOMoz. Fantastic resource, not only their blog, but some of the tools they have as well. Right now we're paying $100 a month and we're getting some great information. For example, we use their tool to track AdSense Flippers and some of our other sites. We also are using it for keyword research, right? It's helping us find which keywords we can rank for and, where they're at.
Yeah, I always knew SEOMoz was there, but I never actually used any of their tools until Yahoo Site Explorer went away.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of forced to use their Open Site Explorer tool, and we noticed that a bunch of their other tools are really useful for what we're doing. So make sure to go over there and check it out.
We're pretty late to the party here. SEOMoz has been out for a long time, but Open Site Explorer is fantastic. If you're looking for a replacement for Yahoo Site Explorer, this is the way to go. But anyway, check it out. It's a free trial. If you don't like it, cancel, no problem.
So something we have upcoming and kind of interesting that I'm working on is a tool to help analyze the first page of results in terms of competition.
Yeah, we found that to be a bit of a problem, right? Like, we've gone through keyword research. The data is the data, the numbers are the numbers, right? On trying to figure out which keywords will work. The really hard part is the stuff that's in our heads, right? That we haven't really kind of put out, we feel which keywords are best.
The subjective stuff. And I think that you touched on it before. We have so much data that we could make that subjective analysis a little bit more objective, but we need to use a tool to kind of organize that a little bit better. So I'm working with a developer. I hope to have something up and running in the coming months, and we'll see how we release it to readers and listeners.
Yeah, the idea is we want to take this tool and kind of use it internally first. We want to get, kind of set the parameters, have it go back and look at all the keywords we've ever researched and look at how well it pulls out the actual winners that were winners for us. Once it does that, then we can start to apply it to our future sites, see how well that works, and then offer that tool up for other people so they can start to pick out their winners too. This is a real problem. We get this question a lot from people. What do you think about this keyword? What do you think about my site? Is it the right niche? And I think this would really help solve a lot of people's issues there. Last thing we want to touch on is a reminder, we have a free niche site drawing to any iTunes reviewers. Any iTunes review through June 30th will be in the drawing for a niche site free from AdSense Flippers. So make sure to check out the AdSense Flippers podcast on iTunes, give us a review, and you'll be in the drawing.
Good luck, everybody, and I'll be picking the number.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the AdSense Flippers podcast. Thanks for being with us. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at AdSense Flippers. We'd love to see you.
And I'm taking boxing advice in the show notes. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. Kapow and Devow this next weekend. Hope you win.
You've been listening to the AdSense Flippers podcast with Justin and Joe. Be sure to hit up AdSenseFlippers.com for more. That's AdSenseFlippers.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey!